Okay, guys, this is Roger Moore on Affinity Extra. We're here to be extra, and I'm gonna, before I bring in Kevin, I'm just gonna do a little bit of a background in terms of the heart of today, because just want to reiterate, guys, this is not only streamlined on Affinity Extra, this is going to be on YouTube as well, on our channel Affinity Extra. The reason why we do that is because we've had too many conversations in the past that have been valuable, and the information has been discarded. So the conversations that I have on the edge, do check them out. But I'm trying to stick to things which are cultural, practical, you know what I mean, and also at the same time to lean to the gospel scene. And it always points to God's gospel scene because we have a message to bring to people in a palatable way, and we continue to do it. And the messages are not just about salvation only. Our message is broad, about better lifestyles, about looking after ourselves, about relationships, and we can have all this within gospel. And that's what, gospel's so special to myself anyway, still. But anyway, I'm gonna speak to one of my colleagues in the GMIA, but not only one of my colleagues, I have to say, we don't have often the people that have studied and prepared to study. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to go into a bit of a journey first with a colleague of mine, Kevin Tomlin, just to thinking how on earth he got there. Not just to back it what he's saying, but just to how he got there, just to inspire the next generation to study to show yourself approved. But I'm going to see if I can bring him in. Bro, 1 second. Say hello for us, bro. Let me see if I got you on. Let me see if we got
greetings, you. Brother. Greetings.
Oh,
greetings.
We can hear you loud and clear, bro. Loud and clear.
Yes.
So that's sweet, man.
Pleasure to be on your program.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, man. You know what I mean? We're just trying to do a thing.
Pleasure.
No, definitely, bro. But listen, bro. Let's go straight to it, man. I'm trying to look at the history, your personal history. Yeah, before we get to the whole music element and whatever. Now, Kevin Tomlin, when did your love for music start? Before we even get into studying music, when did you? What happened? What was the connection between you and music?
It was my time when my parents migrated to Jamaica. Because I was born in the UK in London.
Okay.
Parents migrated to Jamaica during the early '70s, during the Ted Eat years.
Okay.
Yes, and when I went to Jamaica, it's the first time I actually been in a country which is a country that is black ruled, if you know what I mean. The school, you see
black people.
teachers who are black. You see teachers who are black, and so forth. You go to the bank and you see a staff that is
black,
bank manager, branch, etc.
So
and the chief of police is black. So and Bank of Jamaica CEO is black, so forth. All that sort of thing. But the interesting thing about the music aspect of it is that after being in Jamaica for a time, I began to ask myself a question.
Okay.
I noticed all these music, coming from North America. Of course, Bob Marley was beginning to merge. That was another key element. And it's and then during the early 70s, you had the Philly sound begin to take center stage,
Okay.
With For the Love of Money and so forth. And if you don't know me by now, 3 Degrees and so forth.
Yeah.
Backstabbers and so forth and so on. But what really impacted me more is that I noticed that there were different soul music come from different regions, and it had a different sound that connected with the different city. And also a lot of the music, especially the ones that come out of Chicago to do with Curtis Mayfield, was very empowering. Keep on pushing. Amen,
So bro, I just want to pause you right there. So you all working this all out while you was in Jamaica? Did you notice all these trends while you was in Jamaica?
Oh yes,
okay.
Yes, because and also while I was, but the interesting thing about it, what really accelerated it more is when I went to Kingston to study at the art college.
Okay.
And then about the 3rd year into my study, I used to sort of network with the music students. And then, I watched the Third World Band live. I saw people who worked with Bob Marley and so on, some of the musicians who worked at the different Studio One and so forth, and Tough Rough, Rough Studio, which is owned by the Marley family. And what fascinated me more is one day Roberta Flack visited the music college.
Okay.
Roberta Flack, and she was the one who I think she actually recorded, either she had recorded it or just about to record it, The Closer I Get to You, the last major duet that the late Donny Hathaway did with her prior to his death. And when she was talking about the music and the processes, and she was showing us what she does, that fascinated me more. And I just started to mix music with my visual artwork. And then it just keep on studying. And I decided to study more about it because this was my way of empowering me as a Black person. I just like this music. And
big.
When I came back to the UK in '79, during the winter of discontent before Thatcher came into power, I had the privilege of going to different concerts to see Black performers, Teddy Pendergrass, Jeffrey Osborne, Lonnie Liston Smith, Gene Carn, and the list goes on. And then I see Andrew Crouch, I saw Jesse Dixon, Danny Bell. So I was going across the different things and watching the Mighty Clouds of Joy, looking at the different music coming out from the US, from gospel to secular. Yeah. And I just got passionate with it. And when I got married in '86 and migrated to the US, I started to study it in great depth more. And I had the privilege of, by 1995, I was actually teaching music history too. Teaching music history, Black music history. And also I met a few former recording executives, they're now dead now, who told me, give me their stories working with Stats Record, different, and what happened. Okay. So it's been a long journey. So I've been studying music of Black origin for over 30 years, long time,
Okay, so guys, after hearing that, now you know why I had to basically say, listen, man, let's talk a bit about your story. So, what I find, which is quite interesting, bro, and it's kind of, I don't even moan about the system over here. I feel that you almost had to get almost connected to your roots and who you are by going to Jamaica, and I think that I find that a lot of people over here who probably stayed over here, never grew up in Jamaica, they're not too connected to they're educated, but they have a very when you say Black around them, they kind of dive underneath the table, says, oh, did he say that, a bit afraid of studying Black music. One thing I found, doing a station, there is almost a case of, are you really doing a station for Black music? Really? You know what I'm saying? There's a why are you doing that for? Not from people outside of our community, but within the community. They're almost saying that, why you're kind of, why you're focusing on this. And it's interesting how, yourself, you've been felt led, and it's been great for you to do that, is to focus on Black music. Now, going into Black music now, people are wondering the statement that I made about the Black music #1. Now, people are saying, okay, Roger, why are you talking to somebody who's an expert not only in gospel but also in the non-gospel scene, as you would say, the non-Christian music scene? I think that's better to say. The reason why I'm approaching Kevin, to be honest, guys, the reality show is that we need to have knowledge of trends in the world, because if we're going to reach the world, we're going to understand what music reaches them. Now, if we are truly going to be an effective body reaching positive and positive lyrics to transform people's lives, we've got this great message, and we're going to talk a language which nobody cares about or nobody wants to listen to. So what you do, you follow trends and then you drop it in the communication tool of the nation, and the young people or the older people or the sound of the time, that you put the message on top and it becomes great. That's for me. So that's why it's important for us to actually look at music in a wider sense. Yeah. Now, Kevin, now we're looking to it now. I sent you a couple of things about a couple of CCM artists, about, you know, the sound and whatsoever. But let's just chop into it. You went to America. You studied black music history. If I say Elvis Presley, we see white, but is that black?
Well, Elvis Presley has a black roots because he went to the Baptist Black Church very often to watch them perform and worship. Some of the people he worked with were black. Cissy Wyson, Cissy Houston, and Whitney Houston mother, actually was sorry, somebody was trying to get me. Was actually supporting Elvis Presley on tour and in the studio. So Elvis Presley worked with a lot of different musicians, a lot of black musicians.
Wow.
So, and so he's got the musical roots, because if you really diagnose and analyze his music, it's very much a lot of black elements in it, but the list goes on. The same thing with Bruce Springsteen and the list.
Bruce Springsteen. What about Jim Reeves? I know everyone loves, that generation.
Well, Jim Reeves is what you call a sort of blues country artist.
Okay.
The sort of Johnny Cash sort, but he has that sort of rooty expression and feeling, and of course my parents really loved him. He was brilliant. He was a brilliant recording artist. I could relate to him, but it's not of my experience. Yeah, he's a white brother, and it's different, coming from a different perspective. However, his music was brilliant. Yeah.
And you would say his music is influenced by black music.
Oh yes, they're always because they're always listening. They cannot avoid listening to black music.
So when now I'm growing up as a child now, watching in the 80s, and we've seen a lot of Happy Days, things like that. We've seen Dirty Dancing. Yes, guys, I've never watched Dirty Dancing, but that whole sound of and we saw that as almost like white music, yeah, me looking over, but it wasn't even white music. It was basically music that was basically black music, but then they took it on board and
but the thing about it is that like, for instance, if we look at, for example, Mission Impossible, the original soundtrack. Okay. The original soundtrack, the bass player on it was a black guy by the name of Earl Palmer, originally part of the musical architects, one of the key guys with the New Orleans rock and roll sound, playing with Fats Domino and so on. So you have actually black guys working on these soundtracks on the West Coast. So it doesn't matter what it is. It's that they were so good that they could actually work in it and give it its richness. So it doesn't matter.
That's scary, because the music that got presented to us in England, as this is white music, white Southern music, it was never white Southern music. It was just basically music that was 10 years or 20 years into maturity, and it was white people actually leading it, because the system was probably so racist that for it to go really popular, that I needed a white person to do it. What about fast forwarding it? I remember speaking to a friend of mine when I was at work, and he's a Metallica fan, and now Metallica, growing up, guys, if you don't know, heavy rock band, ain't nothing to do with that band. My guy, I went to white school. They all listened to Metallica. I weren't interested. They had tight jeans on. What we're doing now, they're probably forward anyway. So big long hair guys. They loved the Metallica. The guy said to me, Metallica's using blues chords in their stuff, and I was like,
that's correct.
Huh?
That's right. Yeah.
And I was like,
that's right.
They're using black music influences in such a non-black music form. And I'm going, and when somebody said the other day, hold on a second, most, if not all, popular American music, which is one of if not the biggest music market in the world, the biggest influence is the black gospel music. And I'm like, oh, hold on a second. You know what I'm saying? You know, so we'll get there. Now, bro, we spoke before, and I had a conversation with yourself, you know, about, you know, the financial, what we bring to the table financially. Can you give us a couple of highlights financially? And guys, the reason why we're highlighting what black music has done in a world scale of things, because just pin this point to yourself. Why are we not treated? Why? Okay, look at what investment we've received in the gospel in the UK. Yeah, in black music in the UK, and look at the impact as we go through this journey of what impact we've made around the world. So, Kev, if you can give us some of this, the true stories, the real impacts as well of what from the Michael Jacksons of the world, and how they brought it in into world music. What changes did it make, and what input did it make?
All right. Okay. For instance, it wasn't until Aretha Franklin sold 3.5 million on her first Atlantic Records album.
Sorry, bro. How many million?
She did 3.5. That means for albums and single. So she actually, in 1967, she was the biggest selling female recording artist in the US at the time.
67 in a
1967, yeah. In a racially charged.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, right. So
and not only that, no, just let's hold on a minute. Also, during that time, Motown was exploding.
Yeah.
Stax Records exploding.
Yeah.
And also other labels like what do you call it, Gamble label, which was exploding. All these black labels production teams begin to explode. But the interesting thing, that very year, when Aretha Franklin did 3.5 million copies in singles and album for Atlantic Records, that was the very year that the industry in the US went over the $1 billion mark and never returned. So that was a significant year.
I think this is important, guys. Aretha Franklin, who is almost one of the darlings from gospel, who transcended music in and outside of gospel. I think they said that she's the queen of is it or
soul queen.
Soul queen.
Sorry, she's the soul queen. Beg your pardon. She's the soul queen of R&B and soul. She became that year because she was so impacting. Matter of fact, between 67 to 59, she was on the album charts for 59 weeks with her albums at number one for 59 weeks in total.
So with her
albums alone, her albums were at number one for 59 weeks. Her albums in R&B on the R&B charts. That's how impacting she was.
Yo, guys,
during the 60s, bro.
I am 100% making sure this is gonna be on YouTube, because we need to recognize what is going on right about here. Yeah. So so bro, so she's doing bits like that. Yeah, 100%. That's fantastic. Now I'm just gonna raise up a name. Did Mahalia Jackson? Yeah, is it Mahalia Jackson? Before that, you know what I mean? What impact did she make? Did she make an impact?
Mahalia Jackson, yes, she did, because she was one of the first black female artist with Nat King Cole to have a television program, be on a television program. She was major. We don't know how much statistically she earned, but she was a major recording artist, of course, and she influenced a lot of singers, both black and white, over the years.
Wow, that is absolutely that's absolutely crazy, bro. I think that's definitely something which
yes.
I've seen a number of things with Mahalia Jackson, yeah, and it was definitely real positive in terms of that. Now you got so Mahalia Jackson. No, Mahalia Jackson was a bit before, obviously, Aretha Franklin anyway, still, yeah, and you could almost say a trailblazer, yeah. So we'll go back to Aretha Franklin, yeah. Now, a female black person in a racially charged era, yeah. Now we look into going into the 70s now. So what happened? Who were the power players going forward in that period there? I know you just sorted a few things out your side. No worries, bro. No worries.
Yeah, could you just bear with me a second? I'm listening to you while you're.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So, guys, as Kev's just sorting two things out on his side of things, I'm just like going, you know what? I am actually quite shocked. In the 60s, we were, and I say we, as a people, we were doing absolutely bits, making a big difference through the likes of Mahalia Jackson, and going into Aretha Franklin, and actually changing the game through an artist, again, black female artist. And I'm going, hold on a second, why do people talk like, say, we ain't really done anything? And in a time where I feel that we shouldn't have been doing this, you know what I mean, in a time where I think that nobody will be buying music because there's a black face on it and whatever, but we was breaking boundaries in such a racially in a time of racial tension, and that is absolutely amazing, you know what I mean, and made the difference that financially we helped change the music scene. Yeah, and that's black music. And if you want to have a listen to Aretha Franklin. She is not rocking out nothing. She is straight up queen of R&B and soul. Yeah, so definitely check that out from on there. What I'm gonna do, guys, while I think Kevin, are you ready for us? Yeah, he's ready for us. Ready. So right, I'm gonna check Kevin to see if he can start touch base with us about some of the other moves that artists made going into the 70s and the 80s, bro. So, bro, so we just at the 67, we're upper left, a left hook. Now, this is all part of the narrative. Do you know black music is number one? Yeah, and it's about time we understand the contribution financially and also creatively we've done on the scene, because sometimes we see on the front end it doesn't look like we've influenced. So we've influenced the likes of Elvis Presley. We influenced the guys like Jim Reeves. Not only influenced them, they had us on tour, you know what I'm saying, with them and doing all amazing things. Whitney Houston's mom was on tour with Elvis Presley. That's absolutely crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's some knowledge that I need to get. I'm just like going, how is that possible? So, guys, I'm going to hopefully flip over to Kevin in a second. I think he's trying to stop some things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a track from my boy Dietrich, just to tide us over for 2 secs. And I thought, I'm gonna just like a gospel-y vibe anyway. Still, while Kevin can just get himself sorted out, and then just do a room switch, and we're gonna check it from there, guys. Hold tight. If you keep it burning, okay, guys, we're gonna flip straight back into the convo. That was a bit brighter. I had to bring in some gospel there still while Kevin just do a quick room change. But I'm gonna bring it back in now. Still, yeah, that was just brighter though. You know, man. Purposely I'm playing this real cool gospel music because some great vocals. We bring it hard, man. But Kevin, I was just getting excited with the fact that Whitney Houston's mum, who was a choir director, by the way, you know what I'm saying, was touring with Elvis Presley. Madness.
And she did backing too. She did
backing as well.
She did vocal backings in the studio. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So guys.
And
okay. So sorry, bro. Go ahead. Carry on. I'm just getting excited.
Yeah. And also, there were many occasions where some of the local black musicians from Memphis actually worked in the studio with the late Elvis Presley on his albums as well.
So you wanted that bit of soul in his music, you know what I'm saying? And guys, I must admit my nan liked Elvis Presley because he did good movies. And I think his music was probably definitely cool as well. But they were like literally at the time, they were literally Will Smiths of the time, you know what I mean? And to be honest, they reached all cultures, to be honest. And the reason why they probably reached our culture even more is that because they got influenced by our music, and they got around the places. Now I'm getting excited about the 60s, about Aretha Franklin helping, if not one of the catalysts to it change the music scene in Americas and turn it into $1 billion business where before it wasn't, and now a black woman has helped change that. Now, Kev, can you give us a couple more highlights of what black music has done in the 70s and 80s in the Americas?
Yeah. Okay. For instance, let us look at, say, Curtis Mayfield, for instance. Curtis Mayfield's Superfly album was number one on the album 200 album chart, which is the pop album charts, for 4 weeks. It generated $26 billion for the industry. Superfly.
26
generated
what?
26 billion, 26 million. Sorry. Yeah, beg your pardon. $26 million for the industry. I mean, what is 26 million in today's money? That's probably about 200 million. If you're talking about rates of exchange, if you're talking about inflation, and the Superfly album, the Superfly album was released on Curtis Mayfield's own label called Curtain Records, which he co-owned. Records.
Hold a second. He had his own label, but he released his own thing and made 26 mil from. Someone had a cigar.
Listen.
Somebody had a cigar.
Listen. Not only that, Curtis Mayfield had his own publishing house.
Guys, this guy now. What year was this? What year was this?
That was during the 60s and the 70s. Superfly came out in 72, but prior to that, you had What's Going On, which was another huge one with Marvin Gaye. That was a monster.
Oh yeah.
It had three number ones come out of that,
So hold a second now. Just let me press pause. Right. So the model has been there from back then for a black owned business in the music world that has transcended color and made it mass.
Long time.
Yeah, it's like so.
Goodness not only that. Listen. Not only that. Curtis Mayfield actually bought the RCA studio in Chicago. He bought it from RCA Records. He bought the studio and he employed the former engineer that used to work for RCA to work with him on Superfly and the other tracks. He bought the studio building. So
boy.
But this is not the only one would interest you. Kenneth Gamble and Huff with Tom Bell bought for cash the Shulat building in Philadelphia, cash from the previous owners. mortgage free. So that is the level of independence. So in the early 70s, you have Sussex Records, you had Hot Wax Records, you have Invictus Records, you had Motown, you have Philadelphia International, you had Curtain Records. These were black-owned labels, and they were with Philly. Oh, by the way, with Philly International, it first 9 months of business when it signed its contract with Columbia Records, or CBS as it was known at the time.
Yeah, CBS. Yeah.
When it signed its contract, the first 9 months of business, it did 8 million copies worth of singles and 2 million copies worth of albums in its first 9 months of business. That's Philly International Records, based in Philadelphia. That's to show you the kind of money business these labels were doing.
So hold on a second. So guys, so anyway, we'll get to the UK in a bit. We'll get to UK and Christian music, because the model has been shown to us, and I'm not having it when you say, oh, that's not the gospel world, so that's a different rules. Sorry. Anyway, we'll get to that, because I do believe there's different rules, but there's principles. Yeah, but anyway, so bro, 70s now. Correct me if I'm wrong, for a conversation that we've had. Yeah. Now, I was born in the 70s now. Yeah. So I'm born in the 70s, church boy, going to school in a white area, and not allowed to listen to secular music because I got Christian parents. So the only thing I could hear is through adverts. So that's the time I could hear music. Because there was no MTV back then and whatsoever. So I was walking to school. One artist stuck out for me, and we know him as MJ. Yeah, because everybody knew MJ. For some people, Michael Jackson. Yeah, everybody knew. I was in the white area, and everybody and one of the albums that I remember as going to senior school was Beat It. I believe it's the Beat It album. I just went
Thriller.
Like you know, guys, you know, just the boom, you know, them beats there. I mean, when I started looking a bit more at the older stuff with him and his brothers, and you just got them. You thought it wasn't, because the way it got presented, you thought it wasn't really black, but it was, you know what I mean? It's like it was presented as a really well commercial product. And mate, he changed the game. Anyway, you just tell us the stats, bro. What did Michael Jackson do for everyone? So this is correct me wrong, in the 80s. So I'm coming up as a kid in the 80s.
Okay, let's go back to the 70s first.
Okay, cool. Okay,
70s.
Cool.
When he was produced on Off the Wall by Quincy Jones, that was the first time he worked with Quincy Jones, because he did the Wiz soundtrack, which was a gold soundtrack, which he worked with Diana Ross. That was a gold album anyhow. But when he produced the Off the Wall, this is where it changed the game altogether. Because first of all, Off the Wall was the biggest selling album during the late 70s, 79, 80, because it sold over 8 million copies in its first run. 8 million copies
in
its first run. and up till now, it produced about 4 best-selling singles. And some of those singles sold 3 million copies, some sold 2 million copies, some sold 1 million copies, and so on. And Off the Wall was a cross-the-board hit. Both the black division and the white division decided to work together to promote it. It was a bestseller. It was a runaway bestseller.
Wow.
Till now, Off the Wall, both digital sales and hard copy sales, has sold close to 8 million copies, both digital downloads and hard copy.
8 million or 8 billion?
8 million. 8 18 million.
18 million.
18.
Oh,
yes.
God.
In total. Sorry, excuse my pronunciation.
Yeah.
18 millions. Digital, 9 million copies.
Wow.
Hard copies, 9 million. When I say hard copy, you're talking about CDs,
CDs and vinyls.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Cool.
and then digital is like streaming and downloads.
100%. So,
okay.
wow.
And,
okay. Cool. Cool.
And the album was a preparation for Thriller. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Thriller was number 1 for weeks on the US 200 album charts, but what got exciting after a year in Thriller was selling 1 million copies per month in North America. 1 million copies per month in North America.
Right.
You heard what I said, bro?
So, guys, in the 80s...
One more thing I need to say.
Gosh.
Is that Thriller was the first album in music history to be released on the same day in every major market around the world. It's the first time in history where an album is distributed simultaneously every major market in the world. And I finished. Yes.
So, guys, a black artist. Now we can talk about Michael Jackson, black or not, or whatever. But a black artist, Michael Jackson, with his afro. With the Jericho, he introduced chemical warfare on your hairstyle. Now, he was selling 1 million copies per month, and the first artist ever, black or white, whatever you are on earth, to release his album in every worldwide one time. The first artist to do that in the 80s, and that's not because it was a part of a Black Lives Matter campaign to make him first. That wasn't because we decided to test it out on the black guy because he might not work. It is because
money.
Because Michael Jackson's one of us dudes made money for the scene because we are the number ones when it comes to music. 100%. But anyway, bro, so we're coming from the 80s now, bro, and I'm like, bro.
But before we go into the 90s, before we go into the 90s, let me just do it quick.
Cool.
By the mid 80s, the Prince, the Whitney Houston, the Janet Jackson, the Sade's, the Luther Vandross, the Freddie Jacksons, and so on, and Lionel Richie were doing 30% of the UK business in the US. 30%.
That's jokes, bro. Because, guys, I have to refer to, I was around white people at the time, and to hear that we were taking up 30% of the sales of their input. Because as a small percentage of the people, Afro-Caribbean people, we bought music, but we didn't buy music like that. We more time had little pirate tapes and all that business or whatsoever. The music was, let's be real, that's ultimately what we like. But there's 30% of the sales in the UK in the 80s were
not the UK so much. So not only in the UK, not only in the UK alone. Really.
Okay.
But the US mainly, these artists were doing 30%.
Jeez, man.
If they're doing 30% in the US, I mean, remember Lionel Richie, Can't Slow Down album, did 10 million copies in the US. The one with All Night Long, did 10 million copy. Prince, Purple Rain did about between 16 to 19 million copies in the US alone. The soundtrack.
Prince is massive in it. Growing up, everyone's like, "Yo, I like my Prince. Everyone's.
And not only that.
Jeez.
Whitney Houston's first album sold 14 million copies. You heard me, bro. 14 million copies.
Okay, bro. What I want to do now,
I finished now.
But right, guys. So we got the picture now that everyone's like this. Okay, we have made a major input. So how does this relate to gospel music? Now I know Kevin a bit, we have conversations, and I want to now slip into what has been going on in gospel while this has been going on. So we're seeing all this music going on in black music, and I want us to actually learn from the US people. I want us to really realize that we're not here to be carbon copies of the US, but we can learn from movements that's happening in different countries and understand how can we apply this to the UK, yeah, and how we can move forward in the UK. Yeah, and I'm sick and tired of people going, that's a different, it's different style of music, but we can look at case studies to see how things evolved and pull out the positives and then move on it over here. So this is why this journey is going. This is an important journey for me. Now, what was in the 80s, maybe it was the 70s, bro? What was going on musically for gospel music? Because I know you had to look into that stuff and what was going on to get you smiling. So what are the names?
This is quite interesting. In gospel music, it was beginning to take center stage as well, with the Mighty Clouds of Joy, the Hawkins, Andrew Crouch, and so forth. They were attracting the best musicians as well. And matter of fact, they contributed a lot on secular artists.
Okay.
The secular artists was desperate for them to do vocal arrangement. Actually, one of the best string arrangers in the world is a born-again Christian called Benjamin Wright Jr. He was the one who did the strings on Stop Till You Get Enough.
Stop.
Benjamin Wright Jr. Yes, he did the strings.
Okay. Wow. He
did the strings. Remember, he's a Christian, dedicated Christian. He did the strings and Boogie Wonderland for the Earth, Wind and Fire. He did the strings of that. Boogie Wonderland, Oh, the brother is serious.
Wow. So, so that's good. So we're contributing, like what we're doing over here, yes. Really. Yeah.
Actually, and also he did the strings on Friends for Shalimar. Yes.
So yes. we have a major way. So what artists you mentioned? Hawkins and what artists? You see how you had Aretha Franklin in the 60s, yeah? What gospel artists changed the game? Now I know somebody in my head, yeah. Now, but I don't know statistically what artists really changed the game. Maybe in the 70s that really helped commercialize gospel music.
Oh, that's quite easy. Andrew Crouch.
Yes, I knew you.
Andrew Crouch. Yeah.
The
Hawkins, because the Hawkins was one of the first family to have best-selling gospel albums, live gospel albums. For instance, the Love Alive projects.
Yeah.
Did about a minimum of 250,000 copies. So they did about 250,000.
So
quarter of a million. We're talking about 250,000 copies, and one or two of their albums did do 1 million copies and do 500,000. So they were major. The Hawkins.
So with the Hawkins,
large units.
They did Oh Happy Days. Now, would you argue and say, they are nice and looked after? They don't have to worry about their future estates with that one track alone.
Happy Day was a big seller in the UK. It was a big seller in the US. It sold 1 million copies. Oh Happy Day. And I think in the UK it sold about close to 500,000 units.
Shit.
During the 60s, late 60s, early 70s,
Wow. And guys, trust me, I'm not talking about the Sister Act version. I'm talking about the original version. Go and seek it out. The Hawkins, Oh Happy Days.
Yes.
And seek out the original.
By the late Edwin Hawkins. Yes.
Crazy. So we've got the Andrew Crouch doing a thing, and just to show off that I have got some knowledge, I know Andrew Crouch did some work with Michael Jackson. Vocal arrangements.
And he did vocal arrangement for Madonna.
Okay. Well, okay.
He did vocal arrangements for Quincy Jones and Back on the Block.
Wow.
And
So
his sister, Sandra Crouch, was a session musician at Motown West Coast studio doing percussions.
But I'm just seeing a scene which we look at and we don't realize what's going on, the hustle and bustle that's behind what we see at the front.
Behind the scenes in the music industry, that's what I've been fascinated with, because there is no color behind the scene, because whoever is brilliant at something, they call them the hired guns. That's why Benjamin Wright has actually been featured up till last year on Tony Braxton's last album. He's so good. He's in his late 70s now, early 80s, and he's still in demand. If he could, they call him.
Jeez. That's some
dollar
genius, man.
You got hip hop artists like Dollar Signs, Outkast, and all of them. He's worked with them. They're calling him.
Okay,
the guy is.
Put a pin in it, because we need a part 2 of this anyway. Right, so I'm just looking at this now. So we have I'm just going in this little journey. It's not even a little journey, this is like a crazy journey. We're in the 80s now, we're seeing in the 70s the influence of gospel artists. Now we're coming into, and now I'm gonna kind of get us pushing on now, bro. Yeah, so we're going into the 90s now, and we're looking into my teenage years, going from the 80s going to the 90s now. You know what I'm saying? So now, gospel music wise, yeah, did our artists really do that well? Because obviously we started seeing music coming over here officially and distributions and whatsoever.
Yes.
It wasn't hard to get hands on.
They did.
So which artists really stood out in that period?
By the 80s, remember, you're going to have the whiners coming into the full circle. The whiners. Yeah. And then you had the artists beginning to merge, such as Lola Adams and so forth. They were all coming, remember the commissions and all of them, they were coming through, but they didn't mature until the late 80s, early 90s.
Correct, yeah.
That's when it's really began to explode, because number one, that's the first time that you have Vicky McLatay, who founded Gospel Eccentric. Oh boy, that's Gospel Eccentric. That's where it really gets interesting.
Gospel Eccentric. That's Kirk's album, the Kirk's thing. That inspired me. People tell that story, bro. Tell them how on earth they did this. It's a stunt beyond all stunts.
Okay.
I'm doing it in
the UK. Vicky started a mentorship in the music industry, working for RCA Records.
Okay.
She learned from the executives who were responsible for the success of Harry Belafonte, that used to be an RCA, Jim Reeve, and Elvis Presley. She learned from them skills to how to build artists from the ground up. Okay. So by the time she departed from RCA Record, she helped the New York Community Choir to become successful, and also she began to work with the Winans and the Orkins and so forth.
Okay, cool.
And so she was learning, and then there was a time during the 90s when a lot of the urban divisions at major labels, they actually cut back, so a lot of black people lost their jobs, from the urban divisions. Right?
Okay.
But Vicky was smart enough to get these people to work for her voluntarily or paid to help her to build her urban music connection, right?
Okay, yeah.
So Kirk Franklin's album took about 1 to 2 years to break. But what they did, they break it between every major region by region. They break it. Yeah, it's just skillful, guerrilla marketing by regions.
Okay.
So by the time
I like this.
They said, people thought that it would only sell about between about 60,000, across the nation. Then it reached 60,000. hold on a minute. Then it reached 100,000. Whoa! Then it reached 200,000. And then Spring Records began to jump up and say, wait. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
And then Spring Records begin to get behind it. And then it moved. And then when it reached 500,000 copies, gold certified, and then when it reached platinum, people couldn't believe it, because that was the first gospel live album since Aretha Franklin Amazing Grace album to do that. So it broke history.
Wow. And that was that was an independent label.
20 years.
Crazy.
Yes, that was an independent label. That was 20 years on. That's the first time in history that a gospel live album did platinum certification.
Jeez.
Right? Not only that, bro. Not only that, Kurt Franklin did it again with another live gospel album. Platinum again. That broke the history. He's the first artist in history to do 2 consecutive platinum live albums, one behind the other.
That was what you're looking for, innit?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're talking about. Yeah, and not only that as well. Not only that, when Kurt Franklin's first live album exploded, the music industry, the gospel sector, went from, say, 200 million to 500 million, 40% growth within a year. 40% it just jumped from under. So
crazy.
By 1996,
yeah,
the US gospel market was doing over 500 million. With Donnie McClurkin album Smoking, you had CeCe Winans doing platinum, and the list was going on. It was exploding. And so black artists was actually the thing about it is that Kurt Franklin was one of the few I say gospel artists to do 3 million copies, with some of his projects.
So it was just bro, because bro, we've been chopping this up for a bit still. So I'm okay. Well, I'm looking at the journey that you've just taken me through, bro. Yeah, and it's clear to see that black music and black creatives in the background have turned over billions for the music scene.
Correct.
Now,
between here and the US.
Between here and the US. Now, my frustration is in the gospel scene in the UK. No, the gospel. The black music and the black creative scene over in the UK. And this may be a whole other subject. Now, based upon our talent of our colleagues in America, and our talent because we have transcended, and I know this is a whole other journey, we have had a major input into non-Christian music in the UK from the 70s all the way up to now, probably even from the 60s. We've had, guys, Tom Jones, man, I don't care what anyone says, man, you can't fake that funk, man. You know what I'm saying? He's got that funk from somewhere, and he ain't from the pub. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And and when you see his BVs are straight sisters, man, straight. You know what I mean? So you've got the likes of Tom Jones. You got Sam Smith. You've got so many artists that are influenced. And my biggest frustration, Kevin, is I feel we're getting mugged off in the Christian world because no one doesn't want to invest in our talent. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And the scene, the business scene isn't going to themselves. The Christian music business scene hasn't gone to themselves and said, this music can transcend culture. Yeah. Now, let me give you an example. And guys, we've been chopping it up for a while, but I'm gonna be taking a big jump because I can bring Kevin on here whenever I want to, and we can chop everything up. But what was amazing is Sinach. Yeah. Now, after bringing that album in Nigeria, she brings out Waymaker. Yeah. Now, after she bring it out, a couple years later, somebody, I would say pirated, but somebody sings the track in America, and then they tried to almost run away with it, but they got caught out a bit still. Yeah. And I checked the billboards, and in the top 10 tracks of Christian music on the billboards, Sinach's track is sung by two white Christian artists, which is fine, you know, sing if you want, yeah, you know what I'm saying. And obviously she's getting money from it, and she's got her version, and she's worth off that one track 1 million, you know. What was amazing for me is that this was an artist that's not just one-off album, and then what we're talking about is not first-off albums. We're talking about people that are seasoned and doing it time and time again. When she's come out like this, what was interesting for me, bro, Lauren Dingle, I sent you a video of her track, yeah. Now she is the number one gospel Christian artist in the billboards, yeah, female,
correct,
now,
yes.
I played the music to my wife. I said, who does it sound like? Wife goes, oh, that sounds like Adele. Yeah. Now, Adele is a top artist. Now, this is ridiculous, guys. Lauren Dingle on her number one track has 198 million plays in YouTube alone. That's stupid. Almost a bit. Yo, 108. Crazy numbers. And the next one down, trust me, is nowhere near. It's like 30 or 20 or 15, yeah. But she doesn't sound like a traditionally sounding so-called white music, because she sounds like Adele. And a fact that I found out from yourself is Adele is produced by a non-white producer. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Well, it's a mixture of both. She's worked with James Poyser from Sheffield, worked on a best-selling album. So she used a lot of different of our people behind the scene. Okay, wow. This is one thing you need to understand with Lorraine, this girl.
Yeah,
Lorraine has grown up listening to the R. Kellys and so on of the world. You know, she listened to all these different brethren. You understand?
Call it out.
She listened to Kanye West, etc.
Yeah,
right. And Jay-Z and Beyonce, right? And some of the people she worked with are black musicians. Yes, just bottom line. Okay, wow. So let us not. And the Say You track has sold over 200,000 copies. So it's one of the first gospel track in many years to get silver certification in recent times in the UK. Now she's sold most of her albums do 1 million copies minimum. She's constantly been saying, she's one of the major gospel artists, female gospel artists in the US right now. But she's not seen as gospel because she's white. You know what I'm saying? Because she's white, she's seen as a white Christian music artist, which is fine. You know what I mean? As Christian music, because that's fine. That's no problem. That's no problem. We're cool with that because it is what it is. But what frustrates me, bro, is that. Fine, if they want to pay me to play the bass guitar and bring my flavor to it, I get it. You know what I mean? I'll come on, bring my thing. But what for the sound that it's like they're refusing our sound in the UK. It's like they're holding back and saying, when it comes to Christian music, not non-Christian music. When it comes to Christian music, my frustration is that don't they know that we're number one? Don't we know that we're big influencers? Don't they know we? I'm not saying everybody wants our sound full stop. They do know that because they use us. They use the London Gospel Community Choir to do backings for Madonna and her American Life album.
Wow, yeah.
And Nicky Brown was on it as well. That was a multi-platinum album around the world. So
is it that we need to know?
That was 2003 that came out. Oh, and not only that, let's go to recent times. Times, bro. Taylor Swift came over and asked Lawrence Johnson to do vocal backing with his LJ singers and people from his church on a Christmas Tree single, a lone single that sold on the first day of its release on Spotify, it did over 1 million copies. The first day streaming, over 1 million copies, nearly 2 million copies.
All right,
that is 2019. So, bro.
So we need to stand up with pride, but we need to listen, man, bro. And I think this is we're almost apologetic to sit around the table, bro. Yeah, but it's about time, bro. Yeah, we sit around the table and say, "Oi, I own it." You know what I mean? It was saying actually own, and I want to come with a fact now. Now, people saw this rebellious little genre called hip hop. Yeah, I just want to hear the figures out of your mouth. Yeah, what percentage share would you say that hip hop has in music right now? Roundabouts.
Well, whoops, my thing fell down. Sorry.
That's cool.
Well, that's part of the challenge. Well, okay, let's put it this way. Hip hop is number one genre in the world. I shall repeat it. Hip hop, and this is figures. This is figures from all the major, in terms of RIAA and the International Federal Phonographic Industry, which is based in London. They've all said it, that hip hop is number one in the world in terms of influence and music. Matter of fact, look.
Jeez.
Look, let me tell you this. Let's go back to the 80s. Madonna's first two albums were produced by black producers. First two albums. You heard me. Mainly by black, like for instance, the late Reggie Lucas, part of the Reggie Lucas and James Ntume production, which did about 4 of the gold albums for Stephanie Mills, right? And also the same guys who did Juicy Fruit. You remember that track, Juicy Fruit?
Yeah.
Part of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
okay. Go. Let's go back. That album that Reggie Lucas produced sold 5 million copies for Madonna's first album, which had Borderline and so forth. The second album that Nile Rodgers did, which is part of the Chic production, Good Times, We Are Family, right?
Okay.
That album, Like a Virgin, that did 10 million copies when the dust was settled, and it was produced by Nile Rodgers completely from the beginning, with all the Chic musicians that work with Chic, like Thomas and drums and so on, the engineer and so forth, right? So let's just go forward and then bring it right now. And you have Babyface, who worked on his bedtime story album from Madonna, which did multi-platinum, right? Co-produced. So, and also during the 90s too, the longest running chart singles on the chart was Boyz II Men, I Want to Make Love to You, and so on. That was number one for 14 weeks, right? On 2 occasions, Boyz II Men was at number one for 28 weeks between 2 singles, 28 weeks, right?
I remember them days.
And this was the 90s. So
early 90s,
just to give you an idea at the level of sales and the impact. So not only that, during the 90s, there was about 30 soundtracks that were black produced, 30, and that did between gold to platinum and multi-platinum, Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
I could listen, bro. I could give you,
guys. I could give you
big-headed now. and also a lot of these tracks were actually released and produced by black labels. Okay,
So guys, okay, Kevin, right? So I'm gonna wrap this up, and I know we'll chop it up again, yeah. So guys, so there's some amazing stuff, because I actually feel more chest up now walking around. I'll kick down the door of some offices now and say, yo, I need to sit on this table not as a guest, but as a yo. You need to be around the table, and I feel that now, Kevin. This is not. You can correct me if I'm wrong from my conclusion from what you're saying, but this really, as we come into this right stage in the UK of moving forward, we now need to be unapologetic with our gifting. Yeah, I think the mentality of, I don't want to go too deep on this, but I believe, the Afro-Caribbean ex-slave kind of mentality is almost like we almost beg a squeeze on the table. Yeah, with this generation now, as my friend said to me, we're not looking to be no squeeze, we're looking to be on the table, we're looking to own the table. Yeah, and I feel that in the gospel scene, we're almost apologetically asking permission to set things up, to do things, to own stuff. We're almost going, okay, we need to get the sign off from the National Christian Board of Music. We need to get the sign off for this. No, we are the best. Now stand up strong, yeah. And it's not about we're gonna be selling for 100% of people, but our music is in demand. It's been in demand, and you know what? When we thought our music wasn't in demand, it was in disguise. People love off Madonna, bruv. Back in I was in the areas, man. People love Madonna. They was listening to Metallica, but it was us. All the time it was us. You know what I mean? And I thought that MC Hammer was the only influence that was us. But all these musics was us, And it's not to say that there's no room for nobody else, but it's about time that the percentages change, and we as black music not being boastful, but to stand in who we are, yeah, and recognize that we have had a major input in terms of the commercialization of music in general. So who to say we cannot change things in the music scene in UK Christian music, but they're not willing to give it to us? But let's be real, it's kind of dead. You know what I'm saying? So now it needs revitalizing, and why can't we I believe it's us to take it. And I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, bro. I'm just saying, let's do this, bro. You know what I'm saying? If we have to do a Jonathan thing and just jump over and say, allow you guys, we're gonna just attack the Philistines because you know what, you guys are lagging behind. If we have to do that, bro, we have to do that, and I'm stand up strong. I don't care if a guy turns around and says, I've seen too much black people on TV and songs of praise. Forget that, bro. I'm not interested. Let's stand in our gifting, let's stand in our talent, and let's go hard. You know what I'm saying, bro? And Kevin, thanks again, man, for that input. And I know, bro, there's so much more to be discussed, because I do want.
We're just touching the tip of the iceberg, really, because I'm just giving you a summary.
Bro, next time we come on, we're gonna look at the musicians in the UK and the input into world music.
That is very interesting.
We'll hit that out in the next 6 weeks. I'll get you back on. I'll see a gap and I say, yo, Kevin, you ready to do that? So we're gonna chop that up because you touched on it. A brother just like yourself, bro, grew up in church. Poiser has changed the game for music as we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Grew up in church.
Poiser, serious brethren.
So Poiser, give me a holler. We would love to get you on. But anyway, bro. So no, I think that it's really important, bro, that we know this, because sometimes we forget who we are. You know what I'm saying? And forget what we've done. You know what I'm saying? Because history will want to wipe it out and focus on Madonna and not focus on how to put it there. She will talk about the people around her, but history won't tell that story. You know what I mean? History won't tell you the story of Whitney Houston's mom on tour with Elvis Presley. Let's talk about the king of rock and roll. You know what I mean? But they don't talk about the people that influences music, influences dance moves, influences performance, influences recordings. They don't talk about that. They just focus on the king because they don't want us in that history. Just like in World War I and World War II. And people think, whoa, Roger, this is a bit too much. But this is the reality. We've been unless we talk about it and not unless we record it and put this information down, we'll be taken out of history. Yeah?
That's right.
Guys, wow. Bro, thanks for that, man. You that was a journey, bro. A journey, and I think that I'm gonna definitely play a track which is Better Days by Leandra Johnson, a nice gospel track to finish off with. But bro, I thank you again, bro, for your time, and I know we could have been chatting for a good I don't know, good couple hours anyway still here to discuss this subject. But bro, thanks again. I salute you, bro, and thanks for the information, and guys, check out Kevin Tomlin and check out this. We do more videos like this online. Affinity Extra, we're gonna be just bringing out the truth and all different things on the edge and all the interviews. If you want to be interviewed on the edge, if you want to go edgy with myself, let's do it, man. Yeah, this is Roger Moore on Affinity Extra. We're here to be extra, bro. Thank you, man.
Cool, brother. Fantastic.
It can be rough.